Hi, my name is Shalina Mirza. I work in the Montana Office of Rural Health and Area Health Education Center. I'm pleased to announce that we have Katie Bark and Mary Stein who have graciously agreed to do a presentation on connecting Montana's children to local foods. So with that, I'll hand it over to Katie and Mary.
Thank you, Shalina. Welcome. My name is Katie Bark, and I'm here today with my colleague, Mary Stein. It is our pleasure to present to you today this webinar, Connecting Our Children to Local Foods, Montana's Farm to School program. Mary and I both have the pleasure of being part of the Montana Teen Nutrition program. Montana Teen Nutrition functions as the education arm of the school meals program in Montana. We work with educators, school administrators, school food service managers, parent groups, and more to provide training opportunities in programs or activities that contribute to the development of healthy eating habits in school-age children. Montana Teen Nutrition is a collaborative effort between the Office of Public Instruction and the Department of Health and Human Development at MSU Bozeman. On this slide, you will find each of our phone numbers and email addresses. I'll put these up again at the end of the webinar, and please feel free to contact us at any time. In recent years, in an effort to bring better nutritional well-being to school children, the Montana Teen Nutrition Program has embarked on many projects and collaborations to encourage farm-to-school efforts at schools throughout Montana. Today, we'll be talking about these projects and future goals with farm-to-school in Montana. Although the definition changes slightly depending on who you are speaking with, in general, farm to school refers to programs that link local farmers, ranchers, and food producers with schools. The cafeteria, the classroom, and the community all become venues through which to carry out farm to school activities. And all three, cafeteria, classroom, and community, become connected to one another through farm to school. The simple idea of connecting our local farms to our local schools can help to provide solutions to some major challenges facing our society today. The dietary well-being of our children and associated health concerns, the disappearance of local sources of diverse, fresh, healthy foods, the economic well-being of our communities, particularly our agricultural communities. Speaking of children's nutritional well-being, just how are kids doing in this category? During the past 4 decades, obesity rates have skyrocketed among all age groups. Just since 1980, we have seen a tripling of obesity among children 6 to 11 and almost a 4-fold increase in adolescents ages 12 to 18. Type 2 diabetes and obesity-related chronic disease is on a similar trajectory as obesity itself. Furthermore, as we all hear about on a daily basis right now, our nation's healthcare expenditures are going through the roof. Treatment of obesity and its associated maladies poses a tremendous financial threat to our already ailing economy. Currently, it is estimated that the obesity epidemic costs our nation $117 billion annually in direct medical expenses and indirect costs, including lost productivity and absenteeism. Farm to school is proving to be a very sound approach to addressing this major health problem in America. We will explore the connections between farm to school programs and activities in children's health throughout this webinar. In response to the rising tide of childhood obesity, our federal government mandated all schools participating in the National School Meals Programs adopt a school wellness policy no later than the fall of 2006. Schools throughout Montana and the nation now have these wellness policies guiding what food is available to students throughout the school environment, what opportunities for physical activity is available to students, and how much nutrition education the students receive during the school day. Farm-to-school programs can help school districts attain all of the goals and requirements written within their district's wellness policy. access to healthy local food, physical activity through farm field trips or school garden participation, and of course the nutrition education that comes along with learning all about where our food comes from. These are all pieces of farm-to-school programs that can contribute to student wellness. This document you see here on this slide, the Montana School Wellness in Action, was put together by our Montana Teen Nutrition Program to help school districts take the necessary action to make their wellness policies meaningful and influential. You will find this document on the OPI School Nutrition Program website under the School Wellness Policy Resources tab. Now I will turn it over to Mary to continue our discussion.
Thanks, Katie. Good afternoon, everybody. It's important to frame this farm-to-school discussion around the question, why does local food matter? As we've experienced the rising tide of obesity in this country, we've also experienced several other phenomena. The disappearance of small family farms, the centralizing of our food system, where food travels thousands of miles from where it's grown to where it is consumed, and large multinational corporations, rather than the small businesses, are the main players in the food industry. We've also experienced a movement away from scratch cooking toward prepackaged, highly processed convenience food, and a growing void between our food growers and our food consumers. As with any change, there are many consequences to this change that were either not intended or not foreseen. And in the case of the delocalized food system, some of the consequences that we're experiencing include that food dollars are no longer spent in the local communities, but rather they largely go out of state or out of the country. We're also seeing that crops are not selected for high nutrition or taste as much as they are for their ability to withstand the rigor of transport over hundreds or thousands of miles. Think about it. Store-bought tomato versus a tomato that stays on the vine to ripeness. It's a huge difference. And we're also seeing that children have lost a connection to the source of their food. Do carrots really grow on trees? When we look at Montana specifically, the last half-century has not boded well for our staying connected to the local sources of our daily fare. Whereas in the 1940s, approximately 70% of what a Montanan ate was produced in Montana, today that number is less than 10%. In other words, over 90% of what we eat comes in from out of state. That means that 90% of the food dollars that we spend are going out of state. The K-12 school food market represents a ripe opportunity for Montanans to get back to consuming more Montana-produced food. Here you see some very basic numbers that give a sense of how great this opportunity is. 148,000 students are served through the federally subsidized food programs that are currently administered through our Montana Office of Public Instruction. These programs include school breakfast, school lunch, the after-school snack program, fresh fruit and vegetable program, and the summer feeding program. Approximately $25 million was spent in 2008 by school districts across the state of Montana to purchase food for school meals. This number does not include commodity foods, which accounts for about $3.5 million in food, and is currently not set up in a manner that allows for local food preference. So I'd really like us to stay focused on this $25 million number. This is where the most immediate opportunity exists. This is the food that's purchased day in and day out by school districts large and small. What would happen to our state economy if we were able to keep this $25 million circulating in Montana? What would happen to our children's awareness of the food they eat if not only did they know the name of the vegetable on their plate, they knew the name of the farmer that grew it? And ultimately, what would happen to our children's health if we help them get reconnected to the food they eat? In 2006, the Grow Montana Coalition published an important study that looked at the potential for local food purchasing by Montana's public institutions. K-12 schools are the largest in terms of food expenditures among the Montana public institutions. The other categories were universities, hospitals, prisons, and state offices. This study concluded that K-12 schools have the greatest long-term potential for growth in the use of Montana-produced food of all of the public institutions examined. This study really helped to frame the existing and potential role of Montana's K-12 food service market for incorporating Montana-produced food. You may find the link to this study on the Grow Montana website. I encourage you to take some time to look around the Grow Montana website, as this organization has provided great leadership and vision with farm-to-institution work in Montana, and there are lots of gems in terms of publications and resources on this website. So that sets the stage for why farm-to-school. Now let's talk about the components of a well-integrated farm-to-school program. So you've seen this graphic before when Katie was talking, but I just want to revisit it here for a moment because these three circles are the key pieces of farm-to-school: the cafeteria, the classroom, and the community. All of these integrate together to form a very complete farm-to-school program. So let's begin by looking at the cafeteria. One of the major facets of a farm-to-school program is the incorporation of locally grown foods in the school food service program. Schools throughout Montana are making this happen more and more. However, there's many challenges encountered and important considerations as school food service operations shift toward local procurement. Some of these considerations are, how do I find local products? Can I get the local product in the form I need? In other words, are the processing specifications what I need? How do I ensure that food safety when working with local products? And how do I market and promote local in my cafeteria? And can I afford local on my tight budget? Step one for any school food service program is identifying where to go for local products. There are several different strategies to get started. I'll cover a couple of them here. First of all, use existing lists of farmers or food producers in Montana. There's a couple of places that have really good lists online, and there's a concerted effort by several different groups in the state to create a central online food map for Montana. This isn't ready yet, but please stay posted because there's a lot of effort in this area right now. In the meantime, three great places to get you started with the list of Montana producers are linked to our OPI School Nutrition Program website. You can see the link right here on this slide. The three databases I'm referring to include, first one is called Abundant Montana, and this is from the organization called ARROW, stands for Alternative Energy Resources Organization, and Abundant Montana is ARROW's guide to sustainably grown Montana food. And you can find that through our link on our OPI School Food website. A second resource is Farm to Cafeteria Connections, which is a project of Grow Montana. On their website, there's a partial list of producers that are selling to institutions in western Montana. For those of you who live in that part of the state, this will be a tremendous resource for you. And finally, the Montana Department of Commerce's Made in Montana program has a database of Montana-made food and beverage products. Some of these are farmers and ranchers, but more are food businesses selling finished products. And this list is not necessarily indicative that the ingredients are Montana-grown ingredients, but this really may be a useful site for some. And you can find that link also on our OPI School Foods website. We'll add the link to the more comprehensive online food map when that becomes available. Another suggestion that I have for finding local products is to talk directly to the food distribution folks that you already work with, such as Food Services of America or Cisco or whoever you're working with to procure your food. These distribution companies are starting to keep databases of local products, and specifically Montana products. And just by asking and requesting these products, you can have a great influence on what these companies carry, what local products are on the distribution trucks of these larger companies. If you're a food service manager or a leader in your school who would like to start procuring local foods within your food service program, one suggestion that I have for you is take it one step at a time. Look at your purchasing records and menus and make a list of 5 foods that you purchase pretty regularly. If you can replace 1 or 2 of these with local sources of the product, you could have a huge impact on the percentage of your program that's locally procured food. Consider it. What about milk? Is there a local source available to you? What about wheat flour? We are, after all, a state that grows an awful lot of wheat. Schools use a lot of it. Montana grows a lot of it. Is that something that you could shift your operation to local? What about carrots or ground beef? Those things that are used quite extensively in food service programs. Right there, consider the impact on both your students' intake and awareness of local food producers and their products, and on the dollars infused and remaining in the local economy. One barrier to purchasing from local farmers that food service managers have expressed is the inability to get the product in the exact form that they need for incorporation into their menu. Many food service programs are strapped for labor and are looking for products in a form that won't require additional processing labor on their part. In some cases, the food producer can add the value to the product themselves, but in many cases, especially when dealing directly with the farmer or a farming co-op, the producer isn't set up to do an added value product. So my example on this slide says carrots or carrot coins. As simple as it sounds, it can make a difference between buying a local product or not. So one success story of a public-private partnership that overcame this barrier comes directly to us from Missoula. Valerie Addis is the food service director in Missoula, and she's a farm-to-school champion. Val located a private company in Lolo, Montana, called Montana Food Products, LLC, and asked if they would do some of the processing of some locally grown products, with specification guidelines from the school district. The labor issue was solved, and Missoula school children were able to enjoy the local products in their school meals. To quote Val, she said, Montana Food Products, LLC has begun to process finished foods such as marinara sauce, pizza sauce, and ketchup for us. They also do processing of things like sliced apples, carrot coins, and zucchini shredding, a value-added service that I don't have the equipment or the staff to provide. It's more cost-effective because our district positions are union rates and are much more than what a business can pay and get the same result. They're awesome. So start asking, is there a private entity in your community that you can partner with for some of your processing needs? Is there a commercial kitchen that's underutilized that could benefit from a contract with the school district? Another topic that arises frequently at school food service programs, as school food service programs look to procure local food, is food safety. This is without a doubt the most important thing in a school food service operation. Keep the food free from foodborne pathogens and chemical or physical contaminants, and keep the children safe. Local food can and is incorporated safely within many school food service operations. There are a few things a school can do up front to assure a continued focus on top-notch food safety protocol. First of all, get your county sanitarian in on the conversation right from the start. Let them know you want to procure local products and that you want to do so safely, of course. Your sanitarian is a partner in your food service program, and sanitarians around the state are excited about the prospect of getting local food to local people safely. Secondly, ask questions of your food provider or farmer, and of course the questions will vary depending on what the product you are purchasing. There's several good checklists or guides that you can find online that can help you set up your standard operating procedures for procuring local food safely. If you Google checklist for purchasing local produce, you'll find a really great resource. An excellent farm-to-school food safety resource that I want to point out is the Cornell University GAPS project, GAPS. GAPS stands for Good Agricultural Practices. I encourage each of you to check out the resource on their website, as they paint a really clear picture of on-farm standard operating procedures that ensure food safety. The resource, Food Safety Begins on the Farm, is really comprehensive. They have information about water, compost use, worker hygiene, post-harvest handling, and much more. I encourage folks from both the production and the purchasing ends to look up these resources. For producers, it'll help you establish sound standard operating procedures. And for purchasers, it will help you understand the important questions to ask relative to on-farm practices that ensure food safety. In addition, I just want to point out that there's also a high school level curriculum available through the GAPS program. It's called FSI, or Food Safety Investigation. And this is a really nice resource that's appropriate for use in biology class, ag classes, food science, or health classes. At this point, I'd like to pass the torch back to Katie as we move on to marketing local in the farm-to-school setting.
Thanks. Excuse me. Thank you, Mary. Offering local food items in your school meals programs lends itself perfectly to a teachable moment for students. This is one of those farm-to-school intersection points where the cafeteria becomes a learning laboratory or an extension of the classroom. So offering local items without bringing lots of attention to these items is really a lost opportunity. So it's really important to market those items. And what are some ways of most effectively bringing attention to these local food items? One way is point-of-purchase marketing. This Montana-made logo, located on the right-hand side of the slide, was created by Montana State University Dining Services and is used to identify local food items in their various food service areas on campus. Creating a logo such as this is one strategy for keeping your customers, like school children, teachers, administrators, aware of the effort and dedication that's going into sourcing healthy, locally grown food products. Another recognizable marketing and education campaign in Montana is the Buy Fresh, Buy Local Montana campaign. This is managed by Arrow in Helena. It is not a certification program, just a marketing education effort. And this graphic, as you can see, which is on sort of the center of the slide, is a very appealing and can be placed near local items that are being offered. So you have your point of purchase signage. How else can you promote and educate about farm to school? Well, this poster you see here is just the ticket. This Montana poster was developed through a collaboration between Team Nutrition and the Montana Department of Agriculture. It is intended to be displayed in the school cafeteria to help educate students about what foods are grown right here in Montana. This poster centered around the My Pyramid graphic, which is an educational tool that many children are familiar with, as this is often introduced to them in the health and PE class. All of the food items listed within each of the My Pyramid categories are foods that are produced right here in Montana. This poster is a great tool for initiating discussion on local food, like how much of what each of us eats is actually grown in Montana. Have you ever tried goat cheese? Did you like it? What do lentils look like? What does 100% whole wheat mean? In addition, on the back of the poster are 6 activities centered on local food. This poster and the 6 activities on the back can be found online at the Montana OPI School Nutrition Program's website. It is in the Farm to School section of the website that we've had posted on other slides, and we'll post it again at the end. Also, this poster was distributed to School Nutrition Program personnel at their annual conference last June, and there are still a limited number of posters available through our office. So please feel free to contact us if you'd like one. The idea of local is great, but the reality of taking the time to shift your operation to one that increases the number of local foods can be a different story. Finding the suppliers of local food items, having the discussions about product specifications, pricing, volume, delivery, all of that takes time. Well, one model that has been extremely successful and was born right here in Montana is Food Corps. Food Corps, created by the Grow Montana Coalition, is a unique utilization of AmeriCorps Vista volunteers. These young volunteers commit to volunteering for a year with an institutional food service program, such as a K-12 school or a college or university, to help the program move toward more local food in their program. Community economic development is a central tenet of the AmeriCorps program, and the Food Corps program certainly fulfills this. In this picture, you see 4 of the 5 young volunteers from the 2008-2009 Montana Food Corps team. They volunteered in Missoula Public Schools, Bozeman Public Schools, University of Montana, Montana State University in Bozeman, and the Salish Kootenai College and Ronan schools. They make a difference. They were able to set all the wheels in motion, like finding local products, making contact with producers, building a database of these items, finding pricing, doing outreach education activities around local food in schools, and marketing local food, and on and on. There is currently efforts underway toward expanding Food Corps nationally. It's a model that has proven to work in Montana, with $1.2 million being returned to Montana farmers, ranchers, or food producers during the 2008-2009 academic year from the 5 Food Corps sites. There are several AmeriCorps Vista volunteers this year around Montana working toward helping Montana communities and institutions increase their presence of Montana-made products. And finally, before we move beyond the cafeteria, I want to point out a terrific resource that is available to individuals or groups who are starting or growing a farm-to-school program. It is called Farm to Cafeteria Connections. Farm to Cafeteria Connections is yet another creation of the Grow Montana Coalition. More than anything, Farm to Cafeteria Connections is a network of individuals, like many of you on this webinar, who are wanting to bounce ideas off of others, learn from the experience of others, ask questions about how to get started or where to find products, etc., etc. Farm to Cafeteria Connections has website resources on the Grow Montana website listed here on this slide, and also has periodic facilitated conference calls where all things farm to school in Montana are discussed. If you're interested in participating in these networking calls, please contact Kevin Moore at Farm to Cafeteria Connections, and his email is on this slide. Well, we have covered a lot on the cafeteria as a venue for farm-to-school activities. But what about the rest of the school environment? Are there other venues where local food can replace non-local food? You bet. Let's consider the following. How about school fundraising activities? Are there alternatives to chocolate, wrapping paper, small plastic knickknacks that people grudgingly buy and then watch them collect dust? Can student stores sell more than prepackaged candy bars and chips? Can schools help encourage healthy local foods for events such as school parties? What about club meetings for high school or middle school clubs? Does the food always need to be pizza from the chain restaurant? Every one of these venues is an opportunity for connecting children with healthy, locally grown food. Let's focus on fundraising for now. The Montana Teen Nutrition Program received funds to run a pilot offering of an alternative fundraiser, one in which the junk food and the junk toys were ditched, and rather, schools raised much-needed funds by selling healthy, locally grown food items from none other than Montana farmers and ranchers and food producers. So last fall, the fall of 2008, 2 schools, one was a kindergarten through 5th grade and the other was a kindergarten through 8th grade school, participated in this pilot offering. What you see here are many of the products that the students and their families sold door to door to raise funds for the PAC or PTA or whatever the name of the fundraising entity was at the school. Yes, believe it or not, students were peddling lentils, winter squash, whole grain hot cereal mix, and holiday hams, door to door. How did it go? These two schools sold more than $18,000 of Montana food products, and every dollar of this fundraiser stayed in Montana. 40% of it staying with the school fundraising group, and 60% going to the Montana farmer, rancher, or food producer. Some comments received from parents included, "This type of fundraiser is great. Most people in our school community really liked the idea that it was not cookies or candy, and also that it was from our own community." Every aspect of this type of fundraiser is beneficial. Schools make money, parents purchase quality items, many of which were actually household staples, and local businesses thrive. It was win, 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 said another parent. Some comments received from the food producers included, "It added a late season boost to our yearly sales, and it provided a venue for us to move a perishable product at one time." Another producer said, "I felt it was an excellent move toward giving Montana schools an opportunity to support their convictions about offering healthy choices and supporting Montana products." Another producer said, "The sales from this pilot project does indicate this project could grow to be a multi-million-dollar boost to the local food systems economy. If this is 2 schools, there are many dozens that could do as well." This fundraising project did not end with the pilot, I'm very happy to say. The organization, Gallatin Valley Farm to School, has taken over the administration of this fundraising program in the Gallatin Valley in Montana. 7 schools in this region have signed on to do this fundraiser this